Have you ever felt like your digestion isn't as smooth as it used to be? Or maybe you've noticed that certain meals leave you feeling sluggish or uncomfortable. If you've ever wondered why some foods don't seem to agree with you anymore, you're not alone. Many people, especially as they age, find that their bodies respond differently to the same foods they've eaten for years. But here's the good news. Small changes in how you combine your food can make a big difference in how you feel after eating. Today, we're going to talk about something most people don't think about when they sit down for a meal: food combinations. Specifically, we'll explore why combining meat with certain foods might be affecting your well-being. You see, what you eat is important, but how you pair your foods can have just as much of an impact on your digestion, energy levels, and overall health. Studies suggest that improper food combinations can lead to bloating, indigestion, and even nutrient absorption issues over time. And trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end, because the last tip might surprise you and could transform the way you approach meals. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. With that said, let's dive into the first combination you'll want to avoid and why it matters. Let's start with dairy. Have you ever enjoyed a juicy steak alongside a creamy side dish like mashed potatoes with butter or a cheesy casserole? It's delicious, no doubt, but here's the catch. Combining meat with dairy can sometimes wreak havoc on your digestive system. The reason lies in how your body processes these two types of food. Meat is high in protein and requires acidic stomach conditions to break down properly, while dairy often needs an alkaline environment for optimal digestion. When you combine them, your stomach has to work overtime, which can lead to bloating, gas, or even acid reflux. I'll share a quick story with you. A friend of mine named Margaret used to love her Sunday roast beef dinners with plenty of cream-based gravy. She started noticing that she'd feel heavy and sluggish afterward, almost like her body was stuck in slow motion. On a whim, she decided to skip the dairy-heavy sides one weekend and swap them out for roasted vegetables instead. To her surprise, she felt lighter and more energized after the meal. It wasn't magic. It was simply giving her digestive system a chance to process the meat without competing with dairy. Now, you might be wondering, does this mean I have to give up all my favorite dishes? Not at all. It's not about restriction, it's about balance. If you enjoy dairy, try having it earlier in the day or as part of a separate meal rather than pairing it directly with meat. For example, yogurt makes a great breakfast option, while grilled chicken with steamed veggies could be perfect for dinner. Small adjustments like this can help your body digest food more efficiently without sacrificing flavor. Let's talk about why this matters specifically for seniors. As we age, our digestive systems naturally slow down, making it harder to break down complex meals. Conditions like lactose intolerance also become more common, which means dairy can be harder to tolerate. Combining meat with dairy can exacerbate these issues, leading to discomfort or even malabsorption of nutrients. By being mindful of food combinations, you can support your gut health and ensure your body gets the fuel it needs to thrive. Now that we've covered the first combination to avoid, let's move on to another pairing that might be affecting your well-being, one that involves starchy foods. Let's explore why mixing meat with bread, rice, or pasta could be causing more harm than you realize. Now that we've covered the combination of meat and dairy, let's move on to another pairing that might be affecting your digestion more than you realize: meat with starchy foods like bread, rice, or pasta. This is a common combination in many meals, from sandwiches with deli meats to steak with mashed potatoes or chicken with a side of rice. While these dishes are comforting and satisfying, they can sometimes leave you feeling sluggish or bloated. Let me explain why. When you eat meat, your stomach produces hydrochloric acid and enzymes like pepsin to break down the protein. On the other hand, starchy foods require an alkaline environment for proper digestion because they rely on enzymes like amylase to convert starches into simple sugars. The problem arises when these two types of food are eaten together. They create a sort of traffic jam in your stomach. Your body struggles to create the right conditions for both protein and starch digestion simultaneously, which can lead to fermentation in your gut. That's often what causes bloating, gas, and that heavy, lethargic feeling after a meal. Here's where science comes in. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition highlights how improper food combinations can impair nutrient absorption and increase digestive discomfort. For seniors, this is especially important because aging naturally slows down digestion and reduces enzyme production. By avoiding combinations that strain your digestive system, you're giving your body a better chance to process nutrients efficiently and keep you feeling lighter and more energized. Let me share an example. I once met a man named Robert who loved his spaghetti and meatballs, a classic comfort food he enjoyed several times a week. Over time, he noticed he'd feel tired and bloated after eating it, but he couldn't figure out why. After learning about food combining, he decided to experiment by separating the meat and starch. Instead of having spaghetti and meatballs together, he paired the meatballs with roasted vegetables one night and saved the pasta for another meal without protein. To his surprise, he felt significantly better after eating, less bloated and more energetic. It was such a small change, but it made a noticeable difference in how he felt day to day. Now, some of you might be thinking, does this mean I can never enjoy my favorite meals again? Absolutely not. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not about restriction, it's about balance. If you love starchy sides, try having them at a different meal or earlier in the day when your digestion is stronger. For instance, you could enjoy a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast and then have grilled fish with steamed broccoli for dinner. Alternating your meals this way allows your body to focus on one type of digestion at a time, reducing the strain on your system. Speaking of alternatives, let's talk about some easy swaps you can make to avoid combining meat with starches. Instead of pairing chicken with rice, try serving it over a bed of greens or roasted vegetables. If you're craving a burger, skip the bun and wrap it in lettuce instead, or have the bun separately as a snack later. These small adjustments don't take much effort, but they can have a big impact on how you feel after eating. Now let's shift our focus to another combination that might be contributing to digestive issues: meat with sugary sauces or condiments. Think about barbecue sauce on ribs, honey-glazed ham, or even ketchup on a hamburger. While these flavors are undeniably tasty, the sugar in these sauces can interfere with protein digestion in ways you might not expect. When you consume sugary foods alongside meat, the sugars can ferment in your stomach before the proteins are fully broken down. This fermentation process produces gas and acid, which can cause discomfort, bloating, and even heartburn. Additionally, excessive sugar intake has been linked to inflammation, which becomes a bigger concern as we age. Inflammation is a known contributor to chronic diseases like arthritis, diabetes, and heart disease, so minimizing unnecessary sugar in your diet is always a good idea. Let me give you a real-life example. A woman named Susan used to love marinating her grilled chicken in a store-bought teriyaki sauce that was loaded with sugar. She started noticing that she'd feel queasy and bloated after eating it, even though she didn't overindulge. Once she switched to a homemade marinade using herbs, lemon juice, and olive oil instead of sugary sauces, she noticed a dramatic improvement. Her meals were just as flavorful, but her digestion was smoother, and she no longer felt weighed down afterward. If you're someone who enjoys sauces and condiments, don't worry. You don't have to give them up entirely. Simply look for options that are lower in added sugars, or make your own at home. For example, mustard is a great low-sugar alternative to ketchup, and fresh herbs or spices can add flavor without the sugar crash. Small changes like these can help you enjoy your meals while supporting your digestive health. Before we move on, let's recap why avoiding these combinations matters. Mixing meat with starches or sugary sauces can slow down digestion, cause bloating, and even hinder nutrient absorption. By being mindful of how you pair your foods, you're giving your body the best chance to break things down efficiently and keep you feeling your best. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Even making 1 or 2 adjustments can make a world of difference. Now that we've covered meat with dairy, starches, and sugary sauces, let's talk about one final combination that might surprise you. One that involves fruit. You might be wondering, what does fruit have to do with meat? Well, it turns out that pairing the two can create some unexpected challenges for your digestion. Let's explore why this combination might be worth reconsidering. Now that we've covered meat with dairy, starches, and sugary sauces, let's talk about one final combination that might surprise you: meat with fruit. You might be thinking, fruit? Really? But hear me out, because this is more important than you might realize. Fruit is often celebrated for its vitamins, fiber, and antioxidants, but when paired with meat, it can create some challenges for your digestive system. The issue lies in how quickly fruit digests compared to meat. Fruit moves through your stomach relatively fast because it contains simple sugars and natural enzymes that break it down quickly. Meat, on the other hand, takes much longer to digest due to its high protein content. When you eat them together, the fruit gets stuck in your stomach waiting for the meat to break down, which can lead to fermentation. This fermentation process produces gas, bloating, and that uncomfortable full feeling many people experience after certain meals. Let me give you an example. A man named Harold once told me he loved starting his day with a breakfast of eggs and orange juice, a classic combo he'd been enjoying for years. But over time, he noticed he'd feel bloated and sluggish afterward, almost like his energy was sapped instead of boosted. On a hunch, he decided to separate the two. He started drinking his orange juice an hour before eating eggs, or saving it for later in the morning. To his amazement, he felt lighter, more energized, and no longer experienced that heavy, sluggish sensation. It was such a simple change, but it transformed how he felt throughout the day. Now, some of you might be wondering, does this mean I have to give up fruit salads with chicken or those juicy pineapple-glazed pork chops I love? Not necessarily. Like we've discussed before, it's all about timing. If you enjoy fruit with your meals, try having it as a snack an hour or two before or after eating meat. For example, you could enjoy a handful of berries mid-morning and then have grilled chicken with vegetables for lunch. Or if you're craving something sweet after dinner, save the fruit for dessert rather than pairing it directly with your main course. These small adjustments allow your body to digest each food group more efficiently without creating unnecessary strain. But here's something else to consider. Many processed foods already combine meat and fruit without us even realizing it. Think about prepackaged ham slices with added honey glaze or sausages with dried fruit mixed in. While these products are convenient, they're not always the best choice for digestion. Instead, opt for whole, unprocessed meats and pair them with non-fruit-based sides like steamed greens, roasted vegetables, or a simple salad. By taking control of what goes into your meals, you're giving your body the best chance to thrive. Now, let's talk about overcoming challenges. I know that making changes to the way you eat can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially if you've been following the same habits for years. But here's the truth: small, consistent actions add up over time. If separating food combinations feels difficult at first, start by focusing on one meal a day like breakfast or dinner, and gradually expand from there. Don't hesitate to experiment with different pairings until you find what works best for your body. And remember, staying socially engaged and connected to others can play a big role in motivating you to take care of yourself. Sharing meals with family or friends doesn't mean you have to sacrifice mindful eating. In fact, it can be an opportunity to introduce healthier habits in a fun and creative way. For example, host a potluck where everyone brings a dish that focuses on single food groups, like a platter of roasted vegetables, a bowl of fresh fruit, or a lean protein option. Encourage guests to mix and match their plates while keeping food combinations in mind. Not only will this spark interesting conversations, but it'll also inspire others to think differently about how they eat. Here's a powerful fact to leave you with. A study from Johns Hopkins University found that making small dietary adjustments, like improving how you combine foods, can reduce inflammation and improve gut health. These changes don't just benefit your digestion, they also support your immune system, energy levels, and overall well-being. Now that we've explored the impact of combining meat with dairy, starches, sugary sauces, and fruit, let's wrap things up with some final words of motivation and a simple challenge you can start today. Because at the end of the day, aging doesn't mean losing control of your health. It means taking charge of it in smarter, more intentional ways. Now that we've explored the impact of combining meat with dairy, starches, sugary sauces, and fruit, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. These food combinations might seem small or insignificant at first glance, but they play a much larger role in how you feel after eating, and ultimately, in your overall well-being. By being mindful of how you pair your foods, you're not just supporting your digestion, you're giving your body the tools it needs to thrive as you age. Let's recap why these combinations matter so much. Pairing meat with dairy can overwhelm your stomach's ability to create the right conditions for efficient digestion, leading to bloating and discomfort. Combining meat with starchy foods like bread, rice, or pasta creates a traffic jam in your gut, slowing down nutrient absorption and leaving you feeling sluggish. Sugary sauces and condiments can ferment alongside meat, causing gas and inflammation, a concern that becomes even more important as we grow older. And finally, mixing meat with fruit disrupts the natural pace of digestion, leading to fermentation and that heavy, full feeling many people experience after certain meals. But here's the thing, knowledge is only powerful when it's put into action. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start small. Maybe it's skipping the bun with your burger or swapping sugary barbecue sauce for a homemade herb marinade. Over time, these little changes add up, creating habits that support your health in meaningful ways. Experts agree that consistency is key when it comes to dietary adjustments. Even 1 or 2 mindful changes can make a noticeable difference in how you feel day to day. I want to leave you with a story that illustrates just how transformative these small habits can be. A woman named Evelyn once told me she decided to prioritize mindful eating after years of ignoring her digestive issues. She started by focusing on 1 meal a day, her dinner, and made simple swaps like pairing grilled fish with vegetables instead of rice or skipping sugary sauces altogether. Within weeks, she noticed she had more energy, fewer aches, and an overall sense of lightness she hadn't felt in years. She said to me, "It wasn't about perfection, it was about progress." I realized that taking care of myself didn't have to be overwhelming, it just had to be consistent. Now, some of you might still be thinking, what if I forget or fall behind? That's okay. Life happens, and no one expects you to be perfect. The goal isn't perfection, it's improvement. If you slip up one day, simply pick up where you left off the next day. And don't hesitate to enlist the help of loved ones or caregivers if you need support. Remember, you're never alone in this journey. Let's talk about mindset for a moment. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, it's too late for me to make a difference. But science shows us that it's never too late to start making healthier choices. A study published in The Lancet found that adopting even 1 new healthy habit later in life, like improving food combinations, can significantly increase lifespan and enhance quality of life. So whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, every positive step you take matters. Another important aspect of aging well is staying socially engaged. Did you know that loneliness can have a profound impact on both mental and physical health? Studies suggest that maintaining strong social connections reduces the risk of depression, anxiety, and even chronic diseases. While we've been talking about food today, don't forget to nourish your relationships too. Share these tips with a friend or family member, or invite someone over for a meal while you practice your new routines together. These moments of connection are just as vital as the habits themselves. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these food combinations resonated most with you? Are there any meals you're excited to try adjusting first? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and your thoughts might inspire others who are looking for ideas. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tips on healthy aging. Sharing this video with a loved one could also be a wonderful way to spread the message of vitality and self-care. Finally, I want to remind you of something important. Aging doesn't mean losing control of your health. It means taking charge of it in smarter, more intentional ways. Every day is a new opportunity to nourish your body, nurture your mind, and connect with the people and activities that bring you joy. Whether it's through mindful eating, staying active, or simply smiling at someone you love, you have the power to shape your own journey. So here's to living your best life at any age, and to embracing the small, meaningful steps that lead to big results. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and remember, small actions lead to lasting change. Here's to your health.